If you are seeking to control the mind and understand its nature, this video is for you. Sri Ramana Maharshi, a great sage, taught that self-enquiry is the most effective way to quiet the mind and realize the true self. In this journey, we will explore his wisdom and insights. Let's begin. The sense of I is inherent in all beings, expressed in thoughts and actions, such as I came, I went, I did, or I was. When we examine this I, we see that it is often identified with the body, because bodily movements and actions are attributed to it. But can the body truly be this I consciousness? The body did not exist before birth. It is made up of the 5 elements, disappears in deep sleep, and eventually turns into a lifeless corpse. Thus, it cannot be the real I. Instead, the sense of I that arises in connection with the body is known as the ego, also referred to as ignorance, illusion, impurity, or the individual self. The primary goal of all scriptures is to guide one towards this inquiry into the true self. They declare that liberation is attained by the annihilation of the ego. According to Hindu scriptures, an entity known as the mind is derived from the subtle essence of the food consumed, which flourishes as love, hatred, lust, anger, and so on, which is the totality of mentality, intellect, desire, and ego, which, although it has such diverse functions, bears the generic name mind, which is objectified as the insentient objects cognized by us, which, though itself insentient, appears to be sentient, being associated with consciousness, just as a piece of red-hot iron appears to be fire, in which the principle of differentiation is inherent, which is transient and is possessed of parts capable of being molded into any shape like luck, gold, or wax, which is the basis of all root principles or tattvas, which is located in the heart like sight in the eye and hearing in the ear, which gives its character to the individual self, and which, on thinking of the object already associated with the consciousness reflected on the brain, assumes a thought form which is in contact with that object through the 5 senses operated by the mind, which appropriates such cognizance to itself with the feeling I am cognizant of such and such, enjoys the object, and is finally satisfied. The mind, in its true nature, is only consciousness, as it is inherently pure and transparent. However, in this pure state, it cannot be referred to as the mind. The erroneous identification of one thing with another, the mistaken belief that attributes the reality of the self to the material world, seeing it as existing independently of the conscious principle, arises from the false identification of the self with the physical body, As a result, the ignorant person assumes that what lies outside and separate from the physical body is also outside and independent of consciousness. This misperception is the function of the impure mind, that is to say, the pure, uncontaminated mind being absolute consciousness, upon becoming oblivious of its primary nature, is overpowered by the quality of darkness, tamas, and manifest as the physical world. Similarly, overpowered by activity or rajas, it identifies itself with the body and appearing in the manifested world as I, mistakes this ego for the reality. Thus, swayed by love and hatred, it performs good and bad actions, and as a result becomes caught up in the cycle of births and deaths. It is the experience of everyone that in deep sleep and in faint he has no awareness of his own self or of objectivity. Later, the experience, I woke up from sleep, I regained consciousness, is the distinctive knowledge born of the natural state. This distinctive knowledge is called Vijnana. It does not shine by itself, but always adheres either to the self or the non-self. When it inheres in the self, it is called true knowledge. It is awareness of the mental mode in the self or perpetual awareness. When this distinctive knowledge combines with the non-self, it is called ignorance. The state in which it inheres in the self and shines as the self is termed aham spurana, or the pulsation of the self. This is not something apart from the self. Rather, it is a sign of the forthcoming realization of the self. However, this is not the state of primal being. The source in which this pulsation is revealed is called pragya, or consciousness. It is this source that Vedanta proclaims as pragya ghana. The Vivek Chudamani of Shankaracharya describes this eternal state as follows. In the seat of intelligence shines eternally Atman, the self-effulgent witness of all, making that thy goal, which is quite different from the unreal. Enjoy it by experience, through unbroken thought current as thy own self. So far, we have gained sufficient understanding of the individual self. Now, let us explore its location as mentioned in the scriptures. The individual self resides in the I during the waking state, in the neck during the dream state, and in the heart during deep sleep. But the heart is the chief among these places, and therefore the individual self never entirely leaves the heart, although it is specially said that the neck is the seat of the mind, the brain of the intellect, and the heart or the whole body of the ego. Still, the scriptures state conclusively that the heart is the seat of that totality of the inner senses, which is called the mind. The sages, having investigated all the different versions of the scriptures, briefly stated the whole truth that it is the experience of everyone that the heart is primarily the seat of the I. After understanding the mind, the individual self, its location, and the nature of both mind and body, now let us explore how to begin self-enquiry. the direct path to realizing our true nature. Since the body is insentient and devoid of awareness, it cannot function as the true I. Therefore, one should discard identification with the body and focus within. Instead of merely repeating I, one must deeply investigate what it is that shines within as I. Beneath the constant stream of thoughts, there exists an unbroken awareness that silently and spontaneously manifests as I in the heart. By holding on to this awareness through focused self-enquiry and stillness, whether through meditation or deep contemplation, the false sense of I tied to the body dissolves completely. Eventually, this I consciousness itself disappears like camphor burning in a flame. Sages and scriptures affirm that this is the true path to liberation. This simple method of dissolving the ego is alone worthy of being called bhakti or devotion, jnana or knowledge, yoga or union, or dhyana or meditation. In the I am the body consciousness, the three bodies, physical, subtle, and causal, corresponding to the waking, dream, and sleep states, are contained. These bodies are composed of the five shits: gross, sensory, mental, intellectual, and blissful. When this false identification with the body is removed, everything else naturally falls away, as all other bodies depend on it. There is no need to eliminate them separately, because the scriptures declare that thought alone is bondage, as it gives rise to the illusion of individuality and attachment. By transcending thought, one dissolves the ego and realizes the ever-present self, leading to true liberation. Their final teaching is that the best method is to surrender the mind in the form of the I thought to the self. By remaining completely still, both physically and mentally, without distraction, and never forgetting the self, one realizes the ultimate truth, liberation through self-enquiry. As you watched this, what question arose in your mind? Do you truly believe that Atma is the self-effulgent witness of all? Do you find this path of self-enquiry easy or challenging? Share your thoughts and reflections with us. Thank you for watching.